Hi there, my name is Emily Doucet, and I am a recent graduate of the PhD program in the Department of Art History. Today I'm going to be talking to you about a broad range of objects inspired by my interest in thinking about the history of art and technology together. So you may be thinking, why think about art and technology together? In contemporary art discourse, the relationship between art and technology has become so prevalent as to be almost cliche, as evidenced by this humorous tweet. But this intersection has a much longer history in both the study and production of art. For those even a little bit familiar with artistic practice and its history, it may not come as a surprise that thinking deeply about art can help us learn about human history. But technology, too, is made by humans and informed by the cultural values and intentions held by its designers. It would appear that there has never been a better time to discuss art and technology side by side, as artists and institutions have had to adapt to restrictions on gathering and sharing space due to the COVID-19 pandemic. There's been an outpouring of online performances, exhibitions, and lectures. And while many of these formats did not emerge of this moment, it seems a particularly apt moment to explore the technologies with which art is made and the technologies by which we experience art. Likewise, recent social uprisings from around the world have increasingly prompted artists and activists to make use of digital platforms and representations as a means of organizing and sharing critical information. So when you think about the relationship between art and technology, I wonder, do you think about digital technologies like computers and digital cameras? Do you think about the tools and materials of artistic production like paintbrushes or different kinds of pencils, or perhaps different sculptural media? Maybe you were thinking about how artists have commented upon the place of technology in the world in all of its utopian and dystopian possibility. Exploring a series of examples of these connections and themes, over the next few minutes, I'll be taking us on a whirlwind journey across time and space to explore these connections between art and technology across history. In early modern Europe, novel forms of artistic production were part of a larger narrative constructed surrounding European discovery. This engraving, designed in the 1580s in Florence by the Flemish artist Johannes Stradenus, demonstrates the interwoven histories of artistic and technological development. Pictured here is the invention of oil painting, figured in the representation of the painter Van Eyck's studio. While recent archaeological investigations have confirmed the use of oil paint in regions of modern-day Afghanistan as early as the 7th century in the Common Era, this text situates the invention of oil painting as part of a broader series of so-called discoveries in the early modern period. Alongside such nefarious developments such as gunpowder, the other images in this series represent episodes such as the development of the compass, the windmill, and book printing. While many of these inventions had much longer histories outside of early modern Europe, these engravings position these objects and processes as the result of European ingenuity and a calling card for the development of European civilization. The novelty of these inventions and the narrative of discovery writ large was made even more explicit in the frontispiece of this set of engravings. Here, Stradenus directly connects these tools to the so-called discovery of the Americas, underlining the relationship of these technologies to histories of colonization, violence, and dispossession. Viewing oil painting as part of this series of, quote, new inventions of modern times, as the set of engravings was called, highlights the central role of representation in narratives of European progress and prompts crucial questions about how the concept of invention has shaped the history of art. In addition to positioning different media within broader histories of innovation, artists have also used new media to comment upon or represent their rapidly changing surroundings. Within the larger tradition of color woodblock printing that proliferated in Japan, a specific subset of this print culture, emerged in the 19th century in response to the rapidly developing port city of Yokohama. Here, the woodblock printing process was put to use to observe developments in 19th century Japanese trade and commerce, pictured here in the form of a steamboat, a further symbol of the internationalization of trade during this period in Japanese history. The scope and effect of the transformation of the boomtown of Yokohama during this era is visualized in this striking print overseeing the completed port. In some ways synonymous with increasing globalization, the traditions of printmaking which explored Yokohama during this period used mechanical media to reflect on the effects of modernization and the changing Japanese economy. In addition to representing the global transformations which occurred across the 19th century, other individuals were using new media technologies to transform their self-image and in turn revolutionize the culture of which they were a part. The abolitionist activist and organizer Sojourner Truth was uniquely attuned to the potential of photography in drawing attention to the abolitionist cause. After 1864, she appended text to the photographic images taken of her, including a caption followed by her proper name, such as that we see here, reading, "I sell the shadow to support the substance." She even had a copyright filed in her name for her carte de visite, a novel form of cheaply produced photograph, which in 1864 was unprecedented for a portrait sitter. Usually copyrights were filed in the name of the photographer. She advertised the sale of these photographs in newspapers and letters, and sold them at lectures and by mail. Mobilizing her image in support of her abolitionist cause, Truth strategically utilized photography's technical reproducibility as part of her activism. And we can see here the ways in which the photographic image permitted Truth's image to circulate in new ways, as evidenced by this painting of her with Abraham Lincoln, modeled after one of the photographic portraits. The intersection of art and technology is not, however, left behind on the two-dimensional page. Particularly relevant for our conversation here is the ways in which new materials and technologies shape the form of modern architecture. Modern architects' ideas about architecture were radically extended by material innovations. Developments in steel and reinforced concrete radically altered possibilities for shaping buildings, as did new systems for installing electric lighting and handling air circulation. An example of modern architecture from close to home is Sydney Smith Hall, home to the Department of Art History and designed by John B. Park and Associates. While art architecture is arguably a marriage of design and technology, modernist architecture embraced new materials and techniques to create novel architectural spaces for modern life. Similarly interested in the way that art could radically transform experience and perception, conceptual artists of the 1960s and 1970s embraced technological forms to spark new forms of relating. The Brazilian conceptual artist Lydia Clark's dialogue goggles from 1968 reduces the visual field of the two participants to an eye-to-eye exchange, centering the production of unique experience via her performative and sculptural interventions. These works are particularly poignant now as many find new ways to connect and relate to each other in a time of social distancing. Likewise, her work, The I and the You, from 1967, aims to transform the sensation of touch via the experience of donning these suits. Clark considered these new sensations and experiences to be a therapeutic process mediated through artistic practice and the sculptural or technological apparatuses that she created. Likewise interested in the sculptural and conceptual potential of modern technology, the Korean-American artist Namjoon Pak explored technological themes throughout his work. In 1964, Pak and the cellist Charlotte Moorman first performed Robot Opera, in which a remote-controlled robot made from junk, Robot K456, accompanied Moorman's cello with recordings of speeches by John F. Kennedy. Similarly, exploring this theme of modern technology, Paik's TV Buddha from 1974 represents a classic theme for the artist. A bronze statue of Buddha is recorded by a closed-circuit camera and played back on a TV monitor. The Buddha meditating upon its own representation in digital form points to the television viewing experience and linked the practice of watching television with Zen meditation as a kind of cheeky reference to different means to achieve higher levels of meditative consciousness. Perhaps at its most simple form, then, we can think of technology as a tool, something that can offer pathways for critiquing oppressive structures and building new worlds. Designed by the Mohawk artist Skawanati, Time Traveler TM is a 9-part machinima, or a video entirely recorded in a virtual environment, that tells the story of Hunter, an angry young Mohawk man living in the 22nd century. Despite his impressive range of traditional skills, Hunter is finding it difficult to make his way in the very consumerist and technologized world, and he decides to use his edutainment system, this Time Traveler TM, to learn more about his culture and heritage. Through a kind of glitch in the system, he meets a young Mohawk woman from our present moment, and together they move through time learning about themselves and their culture. Describing the Time Traveler project, Skawanati states, "As a Mohawk woman, I believe that we need to visualize ourselves as full participants in the future in order to assume our appropriate role as active agents in shaping of new mediums and new societies." This, then, I think, is why this relationship between art and technology is so fascinating to me. From connecting innovation, arts, and technology to broader historical systems like colonization and globalization, to employing new media to activist ends, to using art itself as a technology to prompt new social relations, to imagining indigenous futures in cyberspace, both art and technology offer tools to radically critique and/or transform social life for better or worse. And understanding the shared history, language, and tools of critique will be essential to fully exploring and capitalizing on these tools and techniques for social transformation in future. Thank you.